Hello folks, my name is Brady and we are back with another React Thingy-Majigger, and today we're going to be checking out more Geography Now. I know I've been pairing these videos, like I've been doing a couple countries per video. I think today I'm just going to be doing one due to time constraints unrelated to video making. I've just been kind of low in the output lately, so I want to get something out when I do have time to record, but I may not always have the time to put like 40 minutes into a video, but we're gonna do one today. We're gonna at least start moving forward on this. We gotta start getting into the B's. We finished all the A countries. We're getting into the B's now. We have the Bahamas, which that should be pretty interesting. Island nations are always interesting in the way that they interact with the nations relatively close to them. There's usually some like very necessary international relations there. Very few nations are an island into themselves. Not even island nations often. So I'm very interested in the friend zone portion of this, and I also really like the Bahamas flag. The use of black and the blue, I don't know, just something about that. It contrasts so well, and I'm a fan of side triangles. We'll get to that in the flag portion, but I am very excited about this one. I'm glad that you guys have liked the Geography Now stuff. It took me a little while to find some geography-centric material for the channel that you guys were into, so I'm really glad that the Geography Now stuff is something that you guys are really enjoying, because I really like the Geography Now stuff. I've been wanting to make geography like a central part of the channel, but it just took a minute to find something, so I'm glad this is working. So let's get this video started and talk about the Bahamas. I don't know too much about the Bahamas. There we go. There's my prior knowledge. Not much.
The Bahamas. It's like the Hawaii of the Atlantic, except it has more of a pirate history, and there's a lot more black people. And it's actually a country, it's not a state of the U.S. Actually, don't call it the Hawaii of the Atlantic.
No, let's not do that.
It's time to learn geography.
I mean, any comparisons to Hawaii, I'd imagine that would be like tourism related. I know they're both really big tourist locations. Other than that, I don't know where the comparisons begin and end. Like, they're islands and they have tourism, but they just happen to be in different oceans.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbado. Today we're going to cover the richest country in the Caribbean, the Bahamas. But first, you know the drill. Let's dissect the flag.
Of course. Favorite.
The flag of the Bahamas has...
I love the side triangles. I love them so much. We have corner squares, which are a no, but side triangles are a total yes to me. Like, I don't know. There's something about it. It's like the perfect kind of symmetry for something that's supposed to be waving. Like, if you fly the flag horizontally, or if you fly it vertically, it works too. Like, it looks amazing. It's the greatest thing to happen to flags since they were invented.
It has a black triangle on the hoist side and aquamarine, blue, and yellow bands. The yellow represents the golden sand on the beaches and natural resources. The blue represents the sea surrounding the country, and the black represents the strength, vigor, and the force of the Bahamian people. The direction of the triangle evokes the enterprising and determined nature for cultivation of the land. All right, that was the flag. Now let's talk about the location.
Sometimes the triangle seems to have that meaning a little bit more consistently than I thought, because I've seen other flags that have the triangle, and it kind of represents an arrow in a lot of ways. It represents like a kind of ambitious nature, something a little bit more optimistic, and I kind of like that. To me, it doesn't have to mean anything. I just think it's a cool little symbol there, but if they want to add meaning to every little detail, whatever they need.
As mentioned before, the Bahamas
cool graphic.
is the richest country in the Caribbean, and part of the reason for that is
new.
because of its strategic location in conjunction to the U.S. The Bahamas is located in the Atlantic Ocean just above Cuba and southeast of the U.S. state of Florida. The Bahamas are comprised of 29 official islands, 661 islets and keys, and 2,387 rocks, most of which are uninhabited. However, you can kind of classify these islands in 16 different regions. The island clusters are Bimini, Grand Bahama, the Berry Islands, New Providence, the Abacos, Eleuthera, Andros,
We have a Providence.
Exumas, Cat Island, San Salvador, Rum Key, Long Island, Ragged Island, Inagua, the Asclan and Crooked Islands, and Mayaguana.
I mean, That can't... New Providence, I haven't heard of that one. The capital of my state is Providence. I don't think we have any relationship to the Bahamas that I know of, but I'm not completely sure. I just... Providence, it's kind of like a little... It's religious speak. I don't think there's any sort of relationship there. I like that it counted the amount of rocks that are officially recognized there. Well, there's probably more rocks than that, but like I wonder when something when a rock is big enough to have to be classified among islands and stuff like that. That's a fun little tiny geographic detail I'd love to know.
Bahamas are kind of like the link between the Atlantic and the Caribbean. This is the reason why the Bahamas is the most popular tourist destination for people on the east coast of the United States. It's easily accessible, it's beautiful, and the exchange rate is typically favorable. New Providence Island is the most heavily populated of all the islands and contains about 250,000 people, or about 80% of the entire population of the Bahamas.
Also, it is home to the capital and largest city, Nassau.
Many of the major island chains in the Bahamas are very unique and distinguishable from the other.
I'm surprised that that's the one that I feel like I've heard the least. I don't know why. Like I said, I don't know that much about the Bahamas in general, but I'm surprised that New Providence is like their capital area or whatever, and it's like I didn't hear anything about it, but I'm aware of the Bahamas in like a vague way.
Others both culturally, physically, and historically, but we're going to discuss that a little bit later. That's demographics, but first, let's cover the...
Love demographics.
When it comes to landscape, the Bahamas have a lot of strange and exclusive regions that it's kind of hard to cover them all, but in a nutshell, for one, the islands are generally low-lying and flat. The highest point is only a small 207-foot tall hill called Mount Alvernia on Cat Island. Otherwise, everywhere else pretty much only remains a few meters above sea level. The only issue with the region is that the island chain is kind of subject to hurricanes often every year, and with the limited space that they don't really have anywhere to evacuate, so they kind of have to sit through the storm. Luckily, they're kind of used to this, and they can afford to build buildings on sturdy foundations that can withstand cataclysmic forces. Now, as mentioned before, the Bahamas is made up of many...
I'd imagine if you're from somewhere like that, you kind of have to build your infrastructure around that. If you can afford it, there are plenty of places that I'm sure are subject to natural disaster, but also don't always have the financial resources to create something sturdy enough to withstand it. Then you're kind of in a no-win situation there. But if you do have the resources to withstand it, I'm sure that impacts the way that infrastructure develops over time.
Many different islands and islets and keys. They're all different from each other. So let's kind of talk about some of them. For example, Harbor Bay on Eleuthera Island is one of the only few rare places in the world that has pink sand on its beaches, caused by seashells from the foraminifera species crushed by the waves and mixed in with the sand. Andros Island is the largest of all the islands and is known for being the mangrove swampy island with the country's largest nature preserves. The further west you go on the island, the land just kind of sinks into a flat, low, marshy terrain that eventually melts into the ocean with sandy, sploshy islets and ponds. Now, if there are any islands competing with New Providence and Nassau for popularity, it would have to be the twins, Grand Bahama and the Abacos Islands. Strategically located in the north with some of the finest
I've heard of the Abacos
harbors, these two islands are really investing in giving Nassau a run for its money. Grand Bahama is strange in that it's already in the process of a mass construction project for a widely dispersed new residential area, including a complex water cul-de-sac region along the newly constructed canal and numerous interior roadways that intertwine in a...
Hold on. That's...
cul-de-sac region along...
Like, that's fascinating right there. Like, I don't know what it's like to live along a canal, but that looks really cool.
The newly constructed canal and numerous interior roadways that intertwine in a maze of patterns all over the area. The only issue is these areas aren't really inhabited yet, but they hope that they will be soon. Abaco Island is known for being the sailing capital of the world with its amazing wind currents. The Exuma Island chain has more sandbars than you can imagine. In fact, some of them are so shallow that you can kind of technically walk from one island to the other without the need of a boat. Also,
that's
this is the only
cool
spot where you can witness the swimming pigs that typically go up to boats docking. Inagua Island is known as the Flamingo.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, piggies are so great. Aren't they great?
typically go up to boats docking expecting to be fed. Inagua Island is known as the Flamingo Island. It's a bird watcher's paradise. My iguana is home to the only native mammal species of the Bahamas, the Bahamian hutia, a plump rabbit-sized rodent that was thought to be extinct in the 1960s but was rediscovered and has since been repopulating. We could go on and on, but seriously, we don't have that much time. Let's talk about the people of this country.
Demographics. It seems like the production is improving as we get into the bees here. I've caught a glimpse of some of his more current stuff, though I've not watched much of it. Like I've clicked on to see like how much it's changed, and production-wise, it's gone up so much, and I'm starting to see it go from his like kind of low-res, occasional mic problems and that sort of stuff to something slightly more crisp, and I'm really appreciating seeing that journey. I think it's easier to go from the beginning and get to his current stuff, because if I started with his current stuff and went to the old stuff, it would be even more jarring. Here I can at least see it as his longtime viewers saw his videos.
All right, you landlubbers, this here be the land.
Oh, pirates. We have pirates in our history. My state. I've talked about this in the past. I'm from Rhode Island, and we were often referred to in American history as Rogues Island. One reason is because we were kind of outlaws in our own country in a lot of ways. We didn't like to go along with what the rest of the country wanted to do, or what the rest of the potential states wanted to do. We were the last to ratify the Constitution and all that sort of stuff, but we were also called that because we harbored pirates big time. So we have a little bit in common with the Bahamas. We have a place called Providence and pirates. That's sick.
Pirate activity. No, seriously, back in the 17th and 18th century, this place was a hotspot for pirates. And technically, since Johnny Depp does have a home in the Bahamas, you could kind of say that Jack Sparrow actually does live in the Caribbean. Lots of rich people here. But first, for an island country, the Bahamas actually has a pretty comfortably sized population of about 380,000 people, or a little more than the population of Iceland. It's a pretty mixed population. However, the majority of people, about 83%, identify as black or Afro-Bahamian, whereas about 15% identify as white. A portion of these people may also have partial black ancestry, and the rest of the 2% coming from a wide range of nationalities, such as Asians and Latinos. Centuries ago, the Bahamas was kind of like a place of refuge for American loyalists, or people who had an allegiance to the British Crown during the American Revolution. They flocked to the Bahamas, they brought over slaves, and over time a lot more freed slaves came to the Bahamas, and that's kind of how things happened. I mean,
yeah, post-revolution, we kind of had more of a formal policy of forgiving loyalists. On a more national level, we were supposed to like let the loyalists be, not mess with them. The war is done. We're moving on. We're making our own country now. But on like a state-by-state basis, there was a ton of oppression and seizing of property and that sort of stuff. It's like, you're not supposed to do that, but it didn't stop them from doing it anyway. So yeah, it was probably good that they ran away.
It's a lot more complex than that, but I'm just trying to summarize it within like 3 seconds. Originally, the islands were inhabited by native Lucayan people, a branch of the Arawak tribe, as documented by Christopher Columbus. Unfortunately, most of these people were taken into slavery or killed off by diseases from European settlers. Now let's talk about the people who live in each region. Grand Bahama Island is kind of seen as like the Beverly Hills of the Bahamas. Generally, the rich and wealthy people flourish and thrive here, with a large portion of their vitals being imported daily. Abaco Island is known as the whitest of all the islands, in which over 50% of the population is white. And these people are obsessed with sailboating. Andros Island, although the largest of all the islands.
I heard of Abaco, and I'm trying to think, like, is it the fact that it's white? Did that somehow influence the reason I'm trying to think of where I've heard of Abaco. It might have been from somebody who'd spent time in there, and they might have been white. I'll have to think on that for a little bit there. It's hard to bring back the perfect origins of when I would have heard of that, but It's got me thinking.
is kind of seen as like the slums of the Bahamas, if there was such a thing on such a tropical paradise. With its less developed infrastructure and civil project developments, this island is not as wealthy as the others. Yet the
I've
people
seen
here
some of
love
this
to
in
party. In
GeoGuessr.
fact, every year they hold a crab
I've been there
festival.
in
Acklands,
GeoGuessr.
Crooked, and Long Island are kind of seen as the retirement islands that have a lot
Long
of old
Island.
people that go to relax and enjoy their lives, their old lives. Inagua Islanders have a very distinct African-infused culture, and the architecture kind of resembles that of Cape Town, South Africa. In fact, many of the people living there are modern-day immigrants from Africa. Cat Island is kind of considered like the hippie island. A lot of the
Oh,
people
cool.
are earth-conscious and overtly concerned with the ecosystem that the area provides. Ragged Island is kind of known as the quiet island, as it
But what do cats have to do with it? I thought we were actually... I thought there was a reason it was Cat Island. That's slightly disappointing.
is the least inhabited of all the islands with less than 100 inhabitants. Then we reach Mayaguana, known as the Conch People Island, specifically because these people are known for fishing conchs. Most people, even Bahamians, don't really know too much about this area except the fact that it's a very tightly knit community of about 300 people that love to fish and farm. Only one boat stops by once a week to drop off and pick up supplies and people and check up on the people living there. The government is kind of like, hey Mayaguana, you doing fine? Are you alright? I got Rice Krispies treats for you. Oh my gosh, Mom, you're embarrassing me. I'm fine. Just leave me alone. Yeah, Mayaguana is kind of like the angsty teenager of all the islands. And finally,
That's an interesting
Providence.
comparison.
New Providence is like a mini metropolitan dream with its many endless shops, streets, and businesses and resorts such as the world.
Okay, that's what I think of when I think of the Bahamas. That is the luxurious image that comes to mind. This one up in the corner, slightly obscured by my face. I'm sorry about that.
World famous Atlantis Resort, located on the aptly named Paradise Island. New Providence is
seen
the
that.
Mac Daddy of the Bahamas. Everything starts and ends here. This country is so enticing that it has drawn in numerous celebrities like Shakira, Johnny Depp, Michael Jordan, Bill Gates, Mariah Carey, and Sean Connery to purchase private homes and islands all to themselves. But is there trouble in paradise? Let's find out in...
The friend zone?
Of course, as
Yay.
a relatively smaller nation with a relatively smaller population, the Bahamas doesn't have that much of a widespread global outreach. However, they do have their friends and peeps. First of all, the Bahamas is a member of many international organizations such as the UN, CARICOM, the Caribbean Development Bank, Interpol, and many others. This
That all
puts them
makes
in a
sense.
relatively high standing in terms of international cooperation and diplomacy. Nonetheless, the Bahamas only has 6 embassies located in Canada, Cuba, Haiti, the US with 3 extra consulate generals, the UK, and interestingly enough, China, and technically a 7th non-resident embassy for Japan. Now, when it comes to Cuba, it's kind of like a playground rivalry story. They used to hate Cuba over territorial fishing rights. Finally, in 1980, Cuba took it a little too far and a military aircraft sank a Bahamian patrol vessel. The Bahamas demanded an apology and compensation, which surprisingly the Cubans did. And since then,
Oh,
Cuba and
really?
the Bahamas have been kind of relatively close. Sometimes you just gotta punch somebody in the face to develop a good friendship with them. Interestingly enough, though, although they don't have an embassy, the Gambia has a consulate with the Bahamas, making it the only African country with an institutionalized consular relation with the Bahamas. Haiti is...
I'm kind of surprised at how little their outreach is. I understand that they are an island, and at the beginning, I kind of I tried to acknowledge that, but I also thought, like, islands are also, like, very useful as allies. I would assume people would be really excited to see what sort of resources they can fish out of the island, but I don't know.
kind of like
Interesting that we're not
Mexico
getting
or
as much as I
Bahamas.
thought.
Floods of refugees and immigrants flock to the Bahamas from Haiti year after year to the point where the government has instituted mass deportations for illegals. Nonetheless, the two countries still have favorable relations and trade agreement. The two best friends of the Bahamas, though, would have to be the US and the UK. The Bahamas
Well,
was
yeah.
a former colony of the UK and was kind of
US makes
softly and gently let go of back in 1973. Queen Elizabeth is still technically the head of state, however, in every aspect they are completely seceded and fully operational in an independent manner. Now, when it comes to the US, we kind of have like two getaways, Hawaii on the west coast and the Bahamas on the east coast. Over 85% of tourists every year are American, which makes up the majority of the Bahamian economy, and over 100 US related businesses are found in the Bahamas, and the Bahamas are home to over 30,000 Americans.
So it makes kind of the point of like the East Coast versus West Coast thing. When I think of people who like go on island vacations, I mostly think of Hawaii, and I'm on the East Coast, so you would think that would mean I would see more cases of people going to the Bahamas, but can't think of many anecdotes from my personal life of that, but also anecdotes only mean so much. It's just my personal experience. I haven't seen that as much. I don't know what tourism is in the Bahamas compared to Hawaii, if it's more or less, but just because I'm on the East Coast doesn't mean I've seen way more people interested in the Bahamas. In my experience, the numbers may not match up with my experience. I do emphasize that.
The Bahamas has worked alongside with the U.S. in terms of kind of acting like a filter on cracking down on the transportation of illegal drugs and illegal aliens. The Bahamas is kind of like the U.S.'s cool, slick deputy sheriff who knows how to shoot a gun without dropping his rum colada. In conclusion, the Bahamas is kind of like a little world in its own, in which each region kind of offers something virtually unheard of in the other region. And hey, you know what? Do some digging. You might find some of that pirate treasure. Stay tuned. Bahrain is coming up next.
Bahrain. I don't know that one at all. That one will be interesting. That's an interesting flag. It's simple. I guess we'll see. We'll see with that. Okay, we'll be back in the near future with some more geography now. Bahamas was fun. That was really interesting. Island nations are especially interesting to me, and I'm very excited for that. There's a lot of places that aren't necessarily considered countries that I would still like to see a Geography Now video on, and I think Hawaii is one of them, because like, although politically it's aligned with the United States, there is so much that distinguishes them. So I would like to see something like that. One day he'll run out of countries, and I would like it if he continued and went down some more specific routes with that. I mean, the channel doesn't have to end. It's really up to him what he wants to do with that. But there's so much more when we run out of, like, the big recognized countries and that sort of stuff. There's so much that I would love to hear from this guy, because he's really good. He's a good explainer. And while his jokes are cheesy, so are mine. So, like, whatever. Thank you guys for watching. I've got some stuff to go do, so I'm going to head out now. Thank you, and I will see you in the very near future with another video. All right, I'll see ya.